Welcome to Volume 2 of the Inspire to Empower Masterclass under the Bosses Building Bosses project. I'm so happy that you could join me again for another masterclass, and I hope that you are again inspired and content with the content that I am going to give to you today under the topic Women in Leadership. I am so happy and grateful, humble, thankful, appreciative of the love and support that I received from Volume 1, all the views and the, reactions and the likes, the loves, and I'm so grateful that I was able to give you valuable information that I am certain will help you along your small business endeavors and along your entrepreneurship journey. Just some information before we get into women in leadership. For those of you who registered and participated in Volume 1 and you are interested in doing Volume 2 but you haven't reached out to me as yet indicating that you want to do Volume 2, then you can still do so. And I'm saying this because in order for you to get your certificate of completion at the end of the masterclass series, you would have to complete all 4. So I don't want you to miss out on any of the video courses or the master classes. So if you're coming from Volume 1 and you want to do Volume 2, then you need to indicate to me, Facebook, WhatsApp, whatever means convenient for you, so that I can put you down as a registrant or participant rather for Volume 2, and so forth and so on. So like for example, for Volume 3, if you're coming registered for Volume 2 and you want to do Volume 3, then you don't have to register again, because the form comprises the same information as the previous forms. So it's just indicating to me, hey, Leanne, I'm interested in doing Volume 3, and I will put you down, and that's fine. Let me just give another informative point. The quizzes for each masterclass, so there are 4 masterclasses in all. We are on number 2. We have 2 more to go, and each one will have a corresponding quiz that you need to do once you have registered. That is a quiz that you need to do, and you need to obtain 20 points or higher to have passed the course, and at the end of the 4th you will receive a certificate of completion of all 4. It's not mandatory that you do all 4. You can choose. So you may have missed Volume 1, for example, but you're registered for Volume 2. You may not really be interested in Volume 3. You may want to do Volume 4. So whichever volumes that you register for and you complete and you pass, then you will receive a certificate for that. If you do all 4, then you will receive a certificate of completion and your information packet with goodies and information and so forth. Deadline for completion of all 4 masterclasses, inclusive of the quiz, the quizzes, is November 30. So you have up until November 30 to complete every course that you take and corresponding quiz that you complete. We're going to move right along with our video course on women in leadership. So this video course has, with all my video courses, I compiled a few objectives that I want to obtain and want you to get from each video course. So the first objective for this particular video course, Women in Leadership, is to encourage discussion and motivate young girls and women to embrace and nurture their skills, abilities, and brands. The second video course objective is to provide valuable information which will continue to promote the importance of entrepreneurship and celebrate women in business. And last but not least, to formulate and widen the positive perception of women leaders and small business owners, and to help build a culture that appreciates and recognizes the benefits of entrepreneurship. So I believe these three objectives are very in depth and very suited to the Women in Leadership video course that we're about to get into. So without further ado, let us begin with leadership. What is leadership? Leaders are people who do the right thing. Managers are people who do things right. This is a quote from Professor Warren G. Bennis. The word leadership can bring to mind a variety of images, a variety of notions, examples, points for different people, different mindsets. So I have put and I've listed some of the things that would come to mind when you think of leadership. Pursuing a passion. Most times in business, we are pursuing something that we are passionate about, that we want to succeed in, that we want to, something that we can create impact, something that we can involve other people in to be successful themselves. So pursuing a passion is one of the things that come up when you think of leadership. Pursuing a cause. Again, it falls back to the impact that you're trying to create, or you see a need for something and you want to help solve it by starting a particular business or going into entrepreneurship. You are encompassing what a leader should be and what leadership is. Development of her business strategy. Out of motivation, being able, willing, and prepared to inspire others. Remember, for those of you who viewed volume 1, that we said to be an entrepreneur, you have to have the desire, the ability, the passion, the mindset to get into that particular career. And so leadership, one of the things that comes to mind when you think of being a leader is being able to motivate, being able to develop your business strategy, your business model, your marketing strategy, being able, being willing, and being prepared to inspire. Inspire not only through your what you offer, your products and services, but also through your vision and what you want to accomplish, and also motivate others to create their own success stories while leading them to whatever service or product or combination of that you provide. Another thing that comes to mind when we think of what is leadership is that leadership is based on ideas, whether these ideas are original or ideas that you have researched, but the basis of leadership is on our innovation, things that we think of, things that we want to try in our business, new ideas that we want to create for our customers and also to attract new customers. Communicating in an engaging way. You don't only want, as a leader or as somebody who wants to portray and have or encompass leadership values, you want to take into consideration communication, but not just communicating plainly, but communicating effectively and to get your point, your idea, your rationale, your theory, whatever it is that you're communicating, you want to get it across correctly and in a manner that is suiting to whatever objective that you want to achieve. Another thing that comes to mind when we think of what is leadership, we think of someone who is personable, someone who you can approachable, someone who thinks of the other person's feeling, empathy. We will look more into characteristics of leadership or characteristics of a leader later on in this video course. Critical thinking. As a leader, you have to, or you should rather, be able to be a critical thinker, somebody who thinks on their feet, somebody who not only thinks and executes, but thinks and analyzes and determines what's the best outcome or what's the best solution for the best outcome. So that's what we mean by critical thinking. Another idea that comes to mind when you think of what is leadership is the management structure of your business. Management structure meaning your organizational structure. Remember, in volume 1 we spoke about the entrepreneurial structure, which is the simplest organizational structure that you can find. You only have your entrepreneur at the top, and if you have employees, then they would fall at the bottom based on the growth and the state, the level at which you are in business, whether you're at the stage rather at which you are in business, whether it's idea stage, growth, maturity, your organizational structure will change, and you will have to adjust it to suit your business points, like at what point your business is. So when we think of leadership, we think of the managerial structure, the organizational structure, entrepreneurial structure, the structure of our businesses. And just to give you an overview of management structures, I am going to give you some information on the business communication, organization, and management of businesses. Just explaining about different management structures, key components of management structures. This is cited from Sebastian A. Bombakai, CPA. There are a number of key components that underpin a management structure and should be considered when implementing a new structure. Some of these key components are defining your task, so defining what it is that you want to accomplish and what it is that your business is offering. As a leader, you have to be able to define clearly to your team what it is that you expect from them and what it is that your mission is, or what your goals are, what your vision is for your business. Communication style. We spoke about communicating in an engaging way is one of the things that we think of when we are speaking of leadership. So how messages travel throughout your business. There are a number of possible alternatives. Messages may travel down only from the top. So if you are an entrepreneur or you own a business and it's just you, or you have one or two people working for you, messages may travel from you down. They may travel from both you and from your employees, or they may travel across the board. So there are different ways that messages or communication can work when we talk about leadership in business. Formalization. This is a degree to which jobs and procedures within the organization are standardized using defined rules covering decision making, communication, management, control. The type of influence is another thing that is part of your management structure. This relates to the influencing techniques used by you, the entrepreneur, to direct and motivate your staff to achieve the goals of your business. So these are some key components of management structure. There is also, we can also say centralization is another key component of your management structure. This is the degree to which decision making is concentrated either in a single point in your business, such as at the top. So your communication is centralized, so it's just you. Everything that has to do with your business operation comes from you. You are the decision maker. Or whether your employees are empowered to make decisions on behalf of your business. So this is another key component when we're speaking of your management structure. Complexity, which relates to the degree which jobs are formally defined with specific well-defined tasks. So how your employee or their job descriptions are laid out, what you expect from them and their duties, and they as well should know what you expect from them and should be clear on that, so that everything, your business operations, can run smoothly and everyone is on the same page. Okay, there are different types of management structures. Just to give you a bit of information, it's not included in the slides, but I didn't want to make the slides too many slides and too cumbersome with information, so I'm just giving a side note just for your benefit, and you can pause and take notes on your own. But there are different types of management structures. um, there is there are many alternative types of management structures in use today, each with its advantages and disadvantages. At one end of the scale of structures is the mechanistic structure, which is characterized by vertical communication, high degrees of formalization, centralized control, as we spoke of, high degree of coordination. And we can go through the advantages and disadvantages of management structures, but I can do that in another video if you'd like me to explain the different management structures, advantages, disadvantages, and how to develop your management structure, and things like that. I just wanted to give some information on management structures and the different components that make up a management structure of your business. Another thing that we think of when we think of leadership is devotion. As we said in volume 1, you have to have the passion, drive, the mindset, the desire to do what you want to do, to accomplish what you need to accomplish, or you want to accomplish in your business, and to just go into entrepreneurship, period. So devotion as a leader, your mindset of it goes back to your mindset. You either have a growth mindset or a fixed mindset. It is preferable to have a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed one. A growth mindset is more positive, it's more fulfilling, especially when you're in business. As a leader, and to help you develop leadership skills, I should say, you need to be devoted to what you want to accomplish. You need to be devoted to the cause. Why are you in business? Why are you doing hair? Why are you selling business support services? Why do I empower women in business? Why do I want to empower women in general? Because I believe and I want to see that every girl and every woman can and will make a difference. I have to be devoted to that. As I said before, stay true to your purpose. Never back down from your goals. Your plan can always change. You can revamp your plan, make changes, add, subtract, whatever is suited to your business needs at the time, but never falter and go back on your goals. Same thing for devotion. As a leader, you need to be devoted, you need to be inspired to inspire, and it's from incorporating the traits that make a good leader that you develop the mindset of being devoted to what you want to accomplish. So you have to be devoted to your cause, as we said, and you have to be willing to develop a mindset that is geared towards achieving your goal, or the goal that you set out for your business. Another idea or subject of discussion that comes up when we think of leadership is we think of being innovative. In volume 1, we spoke a little bit about innovation and how important it is to be innovative in your business. Think of new ideas. You don't always want to be stagnant in one place offering the same thing over and over and over. You want to be different. You can be innovative, but not innovative straying away from your concept of business delivery or what you are offering. So innovation is very important, and innovation is one of the key concepts and one of the things that we think of when we think and we speak about leadership. Also, another thing that or another idea that we think of is achieving a common objective. As we said earlier, you want your employees, if you have any, or people that are involved in your business, to have a common understanding of what it is that your objectives are. Remember, in volume 2 we spoke about your goals, your strategies, and your objectives. Your objectives are your measurable steps that you take to come up with your strategies. Your strategies are what you are going to put in place to achieve your goal. So achieving a common objective is very important in leadership. It goes to show that everyone is on the same page and everyone wants to achieve the same thing for the betterment of the business, which will in turn help them with their professional and personal development. We're going to now look at leadership versus management, because it may, be that some of you watching this video course may be, wondering, is there a difference in being a leader and being a manager, or being in a management position? Are managers considered, focus, are managers considered leaders? Is it the same thing? So I just wanted to put in there really quickly the difference between leadership and management. In business, leadership is linked to performance, and any leadership definition has to take that into account. Therefore, while leadership isn't intrinsically linked to profit, so what intrinsically, like, leadership is not directly linked to making money. You don't have to be a leader. You can be a leader in your school. Some of you watching me are in school, high school, college. So you don't have to be leadership is not predominantly linked to making money or making a profit. Those who are viewed as effective leaders in corporate context are the ones who increase their company's bottom lines. If an individual in a leadership role does not meet profit expectations set by boards, higher management, or shareholders, they may be terminated. So this concept of leadership is more focused on a corporate level, so in a bank, in a bigger institutions. But for our small businesses, we are going to focus on on a small scale because of the stages at which our businesses are. While there are people who seem to be naturally endowed with more leadership abilities than others, anyone can learn to become a leader by improving particular skills. History is full of people who, while having no previous leadership experience, have stepped to the fore in crisis and persuaded others to follow their suggested course of action. They possess traits and qualities that help them to step into roles of leadership. So leadership is something that can be learned. Some people are born leaders, as we say. Others have to acquire the traits and the skills and the characteristics to be a leader, or to start the journey of being an effective leader. And you ladies, there's something you don't want to strive to just be a leader, but you want to strive to be an effective one that is devoted, communicates well, shares common objectives with whomever that is involved with their business, and understands their marketing strategy, develops an effective marketing strategy, and all the other things that we have discussed in the previous slide and we will discuss further. So it's not just, okay, I want to be a leader because I want to be a leader. I have a business, I own a business, I want to be a leader. It's a process. Just like entrepreneurship is a process, leadership and to acquire the skills to be an effective leader is also a process in itself. So let us look at a few things that differentiates leadership and management. So the first thing we see here is leadership may or may not be a manager. So you can be considered a leader and you don't have to be a manager. You can be, but you don't have to, may or may not. Management, you may or may not be a leader. So the two are intertwined ultimately. So as a manager, if I work in a bank and I'm the manager of the bank, yes, I'm the manager, but I may not necessarily be a leader, because leadership has qualities and skills and traits attached to it. Just having the post or the designation of manager doesn't deem me or doesn't mean that I am a leader. Likewise, having leadership qualities and having that leadership potential and all the things that make an effective leader. It doesn't mean that I have a high position in my organization or whoever I work for. I can be a secretary, I can be a cleaner for, and I can portray and have leadership qualities. So this is one of the things that differentiates being a leader and being a manager, because some people may have the notion that being a leader, if you're a manager of a business or you have a high post or a big post, you are a leader. Nope. Doesn't work like that. Leadership comes, as I said, it has traits, it has certain skills, things that you need to obtain, acquire, perfect, and mimic, I should say, or follow, whatever word that you want to use, to be considered having leadership qualities, and even to be considered being a leader. Being a leader doesn't mean that you have a high paying job or that you are well known in society. You can be a leader in your own right, in your community, in your school, at your home. You have in your businesses, in your mindset of wanting to start a business, especially the type of industry or that you want to go into, the services and the products that you want to offer, you are a leader in your own right. So leadership is very well-rounded. It's not centralized into being one thing. As I said, there are different traits and different characteristics associated with being a leader, and to get yourself into the mindset and start your process in becoming a leader in your own right. Another differentiation of leadership and management: leaders must inspire. As we said in our previous slide, you have to have that level of motivation for yourself and motivation for others. So leaders must inspire followers. Managers may inspire followers, they may not. So as a manager, I'm a manager of a bank. Just because I'm a manager of the bank doesn't mean that I am interested, or I have the mindset or the desire or the ability rather to inspire anybody. I'm just there to do a job. Whereas a leader is more intricate in that regard of empowerment and motivation, inspiring others. So as a leader, this is one of the traits that you have to have, and you have to acquire to have. If you're not, in all the motivation thing and inspire, you need inspiration yourself maybe. But this is one of the important traits of leadership. As a manager, you still may have, there are some managers that do motivate their staff to do better and encourage them, and there are some who don't. So this is another differentiation that you can point out when you speak of leadership and management. Another differentiation: leadership emphasizes innovation. As we spoke of earlier, innovation, I believe innovation is very important when we speak of, in terms of our small businesses, and as well as when we speak of being leaders and leadership and portraying leadership skills. Being innovative is very important, and it's something that it's one of the traits that is attached to being an effective leader. As a manager, emphasis is more on rationality and control. Emphasis is it's more, being a manager is more focused on management, pitching orders and having control over the people under you, more so thinking of new things and being innovative for the business. As we say, we're just here to do a job as managers. So this is another difference of leaders and managers. Another difference: leadership may be unconcerned with preserving existing structures. Management seeks to work within and preserve existing corporate structures. So remember, as entrepreneurs, as we said, our organizational structures change based on our business stage and business needs as well. So depending on how our businesses, what level our businesses are at, we have to develop a management structure to suit. So same as leadership. To be a leader, or as a leader, you may not really be focused on preserving a structure that is already existing, especially if you're starting in a new business at a high position, or at a position that you have that deciding power. You may want to change something. It basically means that you don't want to necessarily stick with what is. You are more, as we go back on innovation, you want to do something different. You want to empower the staff. You want to make your clients more attractive. You want to bring in more traffic, and there are a lot of other components. So you're not so much concerned of sticking with what is. You want to do things differently. That's where innovation comes in. But as a manager, you would more have a manager wanting to stick to what is, not necessarily wanting to be innovative when it comes to the structure of the organization or whatever company that they're working for. And another thing that differentiates leadership and management is that leadership may be less concerned with interpersonal issues, whereas management may be more concerned with interpersonal issues. So as a leader, you are not keen to, you may not be, maybe, but you may not be keen to dealing with interpersonal issues. You are more focused on the vision and achieving goals and objectives, whereas a manager has to be concerned with interpersonal issues because they have staff under them, and they are more concerned with the existing structure, and they want to maintain that existing structure. So therefore they would be more concerned with whatever issues that are happening. They would more be keen to trying to solve it, to maintain the management structure of whatever company that they're working with. Now we're going to look at the characteristics of women in leadership. So how to be a business leader for your small business. You may not have started out as a business leader when you opened your small business, but it is probably a skill you will need to develop as you move forward. Without business leadership, your small business ship will circle aimlessly and eventually run out of power. So as a small business owner, you still have to try to have that mindset. Again, it goes back to your mindset and your desire. You have to have that mindset of being a leader. Okay? Effective business leadership demands a captain of the ship, not just someone who's standing by the helm. Leadership is active, not passive. Traits of a business leader. So we're going to look at how to be a business leader for your small business. You have to be courageous. Remember, I don't know if you remember in volume 1, we spoke about being confident, being independent. That is some of the characteristics of an entrepreneur. So it comes back to leadership. There are similarities when we speak of entrepreneurship and leadership. So courageous, a good communicator, inspiring, transformation, so the ability and the desire to effect change or to create positive change, the ability to take charge, again, confidence. In business and in leadership, you have to have the ability, again, your mindset. Even if you don't have the ability, even if you're not so, you don't want to be so much in the forefront, but you still have that mindset that you want to be in the forefront, you want to take control, then that is also how you can be a business leader or leader in your capacity as a small business owner. Generous with sharing knowledge. There are some people that, sad to say, they are not so generous when it comes to sharing what they know. And I just feel like, it's free. Knowledge is free. Knowledge is you go to study, yes, and you pay to study and whatever. all the other jazz. But it's so, for me personally, it is so gratifying to um, be able to help another entrepreneur, a small business owner, through what I know and through what I have been trained and taught. And I feel that being stingy with your knowledge is, it's not nice, if I can put it so lightly. So being able to be generous with sharing knowledge is very important. Empathy, ability to multitask, your emotional intelligence, which we will touch on later on in this video course. Flexibility, as a leader you have to learn to be flexible. Sometimes everything wouldn't go as planned, or everything wouldn't go within a time frame that is convenient at the time. But if you want to accomplish a certain goal, if you want to reach a certain milestone in your business career, or as an entrepreneur, as a business leader, then you have to learn to be a little bit more flexible than you would normally be. You have to have the flexibility when we're talking about aspiring to be a business leader. Another trait, or another thing that you must have when you're wanting to be a business leader, especially for your small business, is to set an example. Set an example, lead by that example. Don't just set an example and run from it, or stray from it, or expecting your employees or the people that are part of your business to follow it and you're not doing the same. Set the example that you want them to lead, and you yourself lead by that example. Another aspect is professionalism. Professionalism to me is very important when you're running a business, when you're working for a business, when you're part of a business, when you're part of anything pertaining to business, or a thing, in general. I live by professionalism. I try my best to always be professional in any setting, whether it's through my communication, whether it's through my business, whatever I do. Professionalism is key to any business, as small as it may be, whether you're in the idea stage, whether you're just thinking of what should I start my business, what should I start a business on. Be professional about it. It's very important. The ability to network. I know some of us are not so interested when it comes to networking and to be, mingling with people and selling your business, selling yourself, because you are your brand. But you have to, again, your mindset and what you want to accomplish in your business. That ability to network is very important. Communication, as we spoke of earlier, not just oral communication, but also your writing. Again, professionalism plays an important part in that aspect, because in your writing, as a leader, as a business leader, you have to portray a professional disposition, and you have to, write in proper English and be, thorough and precise with what the point you're trying to get across, as well as communicating orally. And another point, or another trait in how to be a business leader, is critical thinking. Critical thinking, again, remember this critical thinking came up in our previous slide when we spoke about leadership. What is leadership? Thinking outside the box, thinking to achieve a goal. You're not just thinking just because, you're thinking to get to a point where you can create a solution for a particular problem, or critical thinking that leads to whatever goal or objective that you want to achieve for yourself or for your business. We're going to look at the importance of women in leadership and why women make great leaders. So this is what we're going to look at now. Women are great leaders because we are able to balance professional and personal leadership skills. It's easier to approach a woman leader with a personal request or a sensitive question. We care about our teams and their well-being, which includes their performance at work and their work-life balance. So as women, we're more sensitive, more empathetic, and that is one of the things that make us great leaders and makes us have the higher potential, I would say, to become great leaders. So the competitive advantage that women have, or the importance of women in leadership, are our soft skills, emotional intelligence, which we will look at in a little while, conflict management, self-awareness, empathy, teamwork, diverse skill set, experiences and competencies, balanced conversation. Dolly Parton once said, if your actions create a legacy that inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, then you are an excellent leader. While technical skill, experience, and knowledge are fundamental to success, organizations are now holding soft skills in much higher regard. So that is why I deliberately put soft skills at the top when we're talking about the competitive advantage that women have as leaders and the importance of women as leaders. We have these soft skills, and soft skills meaning all the things that we spoke of: empathy, emotional intelligence, rationale, the ability to approach, we are approachable, personable. All these things make up the soft skills. Emotional intelligence, soft skills are often referred to as emotional intelligence, but it's really any ability pertaining to the way you approach others. So we are personable, or your approachability, your deportment. If you see someone and they don't look like they want anyone to, some people look like that, like they're not, boy, should I approach that person because they don't look like somebody that want to be approached or that want to deal with anyone right now. So this is what we mean by approachable, and this is what we mean by emotional intelligence, and soft skills is the same thing. Now, is in our essential leadership capabilities we spoke of before, our ability to network, our communication, and our critical thinking. Our competitive advantage also encompasses teamwork, diverse skill set, as we said, and a balanced conversation. That is the importance. So these are some of the importance of women in leadership. What I mean by a balanced conversation: if you have women and men, you have diversity. With diversity, it brings communication that is balanced. So it's not one-sided, it's not biased. You have different points of view, and you have points of view that can mesh together, and that can be effective to the business, and that can create a platform that can achieve, and that can be used rather to achieve whatever goal and whatever vision that you have for your business. So that is another importance of women in leadership. Diverse skill set, as again we have women and men in leadership positions, or as leaders. It's not one-sided. You have different, because there are women that have different skill sets and men have different skill sets. That makes, again, an area or room for diversity. So that is also an important aspect of having women in leadership positions. Teamwork, you have diversity. Again, all boils back down to diversity. The challenges and opportunities when we speak about the importance of women in leadership: the gender gap. We all know about gender equality, and gender inequality. So that is a challenge that we have in the aspect of the importance of women in leadership. Maximize access to leadership positions, that's an opportunity. So there is, or there can be, an opportunity for greater access to positions of leadership, or managerial positions rather. So that's an opportunity that presents itself when we're speaking of women in leadership. Dealing with fear of judgment, that's a challenge that some of us face when we're looking at, and I'm speaking of really managerial positions and positions of higher, like a supervisor, for example. So you may have that because you're a woman, especially in the industry, based on the industry that you're working in. You may have that fear of being ridiculed or discriminated because of your gender or because of who you are, things like that. So that's another challenge that women in leadership face, along with dealing with fear of judgment. So the other things are opportunities, I should say. So being proactive and stepping up, that's an opportunity that can present itself when you are a woman in leadership. You have the capacity now to step up and be something more than you are right now. The ability to maximize your business potential, better decision making, higher employee retention, and increased innovation. Innovation always pops up. Innovation is just important when we're speaking about entrepreneurship, leadership, whatever it is that we're speaking of, business related. Innovation will always reappear ever so often because it's that important, and it's that it's just one of the concepts and the traits and the skill, these not so much skill sets, but it's just one of the things that you would just think of when you're thinking of business. Being innovative as a leader, being innovative as a woman, being innovative, We're going to speak of right now women empowerment. So based on the assumptions that women differ from men in their social positions, and that those differences consist of asymmetric, unequal power relations between the genders, women's empowerment refers to the process of increasing women's access to control over the strategic life choices that affect them, and access to the opportunities that allow them fully to realize their capacities. Women's empowerment as an economic, political, and socio-cultural process, challenges the system of sexual stratification that has resulted in women's subordination and marginalization in order to improve women's quality of life. So this is an excerpt from a women empowerment paper that I was, when I did my research. It's from let me get it right for you, the Women Empowerment Approach, which will deal with the empowerment approach in a little while. So what is women empowerment? So I just gave you a little idea of what women empowerment, basically taking control of your rights and having the opportunity to develop on those rights and to create a more lasting impact in your life and lasting impact in the life of others, so that you can empower others. Taking back your power. We hear that word power in the word empower. So that's really what women empowerment entails. But we're going to look at different, I did it in point form so it would be easier to grasp when we talk about women empowerment. So women empowerment basically is the increased access of control, access to opportunities, spiritual, social, or economic strength, as I was speaking of earlier from the excerpt I read, that women's empowerment as an economic, political, and socio-cultural process challenges the system of sexual stratification that has resulted in women's subordination and marginalization. And that is one of the reasons, again, I started Girls with Goals 767, is because of the marginalization that I have realized in our society today when it comes to women in business, young girls, women in general. So that's another aspect of women empowerment. decision-making power, ability to exercise assertiveness, the ability to learn, increasing positive self-image. So all these things encompass women empowerment and what it is to empower women. Given that women are usually in a disadvantaged position in the workplace compared to men, promotion of gender equality implies explicit attention to women's needs and perspectives. At the same time, there are also significant negative effects of unequal power relations and expectations on men and boys due to stereotyping about what it means to be a male. Instead, both women and men and boys and girls should be free to develop their abilities and make choices without limitations set by rigid gender roles and prejudices based on personal interests and capacities. So, as we said before, to empower is to give back power, to take control of oneself, to be able to develop oneself. And as women, we should be able to have the right to, develop ourselves in a manner that we see fitting, to reach our truest potential, create our own success stories. So that is what women empowerment entails in a nutshell. We're going to look at communication with others, verbal and non-verbal. So what does communication mean? Communication means to convey a message, an idea, a picture, or a speech that is received clearly and correctly. Remember earlier I spoke of effective communication. So you don't want, as a leader, as a woman leader, as a business leader, as a leader in your own capacity, whether it's a small business, large business, you work for a company, you're thinking of starting a business, in whatever capacity or stage that you are at, you want to not only communicate but communicate effectively and to develop a mindset of getting your point across in a manner that you want it to get across in order to have that common ground. So your communication with others must be a united approach. It leads to a broadening of perspectives, builds greater understanding. You can work anywhere and anytime, and you have greater control over the activities that you are involved with. The truth is that women in leadership positions need to make a point of mentoring other women because more often than not, nobody else is going to do it. Not only does it help the person you're mentoring grow, excel, and advance more effectively, but done right, it can form the foundation of the kind of valuable professional network that will ultimately benefit all women within an organization. So communicating with others involves mentorship, empowerment, and we'll look at women empowering women later on in this video course. But basically your communication needs to be effective. It needs to come across as clear and as succinct as possible, because in that way everyone will be on the same page, and in your leadership capacity you will acquire these skills, and you will develop the mindset and the ability and the desire to want to get your whatever you're communicating across in the right manner and in the right timing, in the right capacity. So now we're going to focus on the empowerment approach. According to economic empowerment approach, women are subordinated due to lack of economic power. It focuses on improving women's control over material resources and strengthening economic security of women. It is necessary to make women collective. So the empowerment approach really speaks on the economic presence that women have in society, and it also speaks to the collective of women and making it necessary for us women to work together and to empower each other, basically. So it's just an empowerment of each other in layman terms. It's the process to acquire power, whether collectively or as an individual, the ability to act independently, to control one's life and make choices, the way in which opportunities to seize power can be used. It's an approach to power. So the empowerment approach is really an approach to power. Earlier we said, what is empowerment? It is the ability to take control over oneself and the way in which you view yourself in society, in the economy, spiritually, etc., as a woman or as an individual. So the empowerment approach really speaks on an approach to that control, an approach to power. Power over, power to, power with, and power within. So we're just going to speak a little bit about the different approaches. Any attempt to understand the meaning of the word empowerment requires us to consider the notion of power. As I said before, that's really what it is. It's gaining back the power that you have already in you. Not only gaining back, but actually reliving it, revamping it, realizing that power that you have, that control that you have over your life, over different aspects that occur in your life, in your business, you know. Empowerment can therefore be considered as a process to acquire power individually and collectively. Among individuals or community, it designates first and foremost the ability to act independently, but also the means needed and the process of being able to act and make one's own decisions regarding life and regarding society. So I don't know if you noticed, but entrepreneurship, leadership, and empowerment go hand in hand. They are linked somewhat because they all involve this a certain mindset that you have to have, and they all involve the ability, the desire, the drive to make your own decisions and to have a voice in your community, in society in general. So these terms, these aspects are all relatable and they are linked somewhat because they all carry similar or same traits. Innovation always comes up, independence, these words. Always remember these words when you think of leadership, when you think of entrepreneurship, when you think of empowerment, when you think of women in leadership, when you think of leadership in general. Independence, confidence, the ability to pursue your goals, your dreams, your process, the process that is involved in pursuing those goals and dreams. So all these terminologies and these traits and these concepts are linked somehow, and they also intertwine with each other depending on the circumstance, the whatever that you're referring to when it comes to being in business as an entrepreneur at whatever stage of business that you are. These terms, these traits, these aspects of leadership, empowerment, and entrepreneurship are linked. Empowerment is thus seen as a process, a dynamic two-pronged construction of identity, both individual and collective. So as we said before, it's a process to acquire power, both as an individual trying to gain back or or have control over what you should have control over, and having the decision-making power, and also as a collective when we talk about empowering each other, motivating, inspiring, and driving each other to their own success stories. The empowerment approach to power has been picked up by several feminist bodies and development NGOs, which agree that the empowerment process should be broken down into 4 levels of power. As you can see here, we have power over, power to, power with, and power within. Now, power over involves a mutually exclusive relationship of dominion or domination or subordination. It assumes that power exists only in a limited quantity. This power is exerted over someone, or less negatively, allows someone to be guided. It triggers either passive or active resistance. So basically, power over means your approach to having control over things that you're supposed to have control over, as I said, and the ability to have access to that control. So that is really what power to addresses or signifies. It is exerted over someone. So it's power. So for example, I have power. I want to regain control um, over my ability to communicate effectively within my business or with my staff. That is that is that control that you want to regain is power to communicate, you can say, or power to effectively communicate. So that is something that you want to improve, or something you want to take control over or take back that power. So that is the concept of power to. Power over, sorry, not power to, power over. So power over is regaining control over so back to my example, regaining control over communication um, with your staff or with your clients. So you want to have control over that. You want to improve on it. It is something that you want to improve on personally and to manifest in your business. So you want power over. So the empowerment approach, one of the aspects, or broken down, the broken down aspect of power, the first one looks at gaining control over things that you want to control, especially if you're at the top, or if you're an owner of a small business, you want to have control over. And when I say control, not like anything negative, but just to have things working as they should. You want to have that control because it's your business. And so going back to my example, I just want to make it clear. So I may seem I'm rambling, but I just want to give the example as simple as possible and as precise, so you get the understanding of the different aspects that the approach to power is broken down into. So power over, I'll read it again. This power involves a mutually exclusive relationship of dominion or subordination. We know what it means to dominate or to be the subordinate. So it involves a mutual understanding of both parties, that relationship, right? It assumes that power exists only in limited quantity. Because you own your business, it is deemed obvious that you are the one who has the control over your business. So it is in limited quantity. It is exerted over someone. So that power over is exerted over whoever that's working with you or for you. So you have power over them, and not power over them in a negative way. As I said, always bear in mind, it just means that your approach to gaining control of your business is having that empowerment approach. You want to empower your staff, really, and to have everybody on the same page, as we stated earlier. So it is exerted over someone. It is not negative. So as I said, it's not anything negative. It's just control over what is yours and what you are building, and your business, your brand. It triggers passive or active resistance. So power over is just gaining, it's just the empowerment approach that you want to have trickle down, or the empowerment approach that you want to have over the people that work with you or for you. Just leave it simple. The next one is power 2. It includes the ability to make decisions. So you can just, to make it easier for you to remember, you can just say power over my business operations. Instead of saying power over my staff or power over my team, it sounds a little bit like dictatorship, sort of thing, like you want to control them. No, that's not what the empowerment approach signifies. The empowerment approach just signifies you taking control over what you are supposed to have control over, and having everyone come to a common ground. Everybody understands your objective. So power over my business operations. So you can write that down, and just for you to remember that as the empowerment approach going forward in your business, or if you want to start a business as a leader, as a business leader, you want to have an empowerment approach, especially if you have employees. So the next one is power 2, which includes the ability to make decisions, have authority and find solutions to problems, and which can be creative and enabling. So power 2, make a decision to get to that point in your business. Power 2, be able to communicate effectively. So that's what I was saying earlier when I got the power over and power 2. I was speaking about power 2 when I spoke about power to communicate effectively to your staff, power to communicate effectively and to proper market your products or services to potential clients. So you can fill in the blank. So you can, like, as part of your goal setting, if some of you write down your goals or what you want to achieve, you can include the empowerment approach, and you just break down the powers: power over, power 2, power with, power within, and you just fill in. So power over my business operations, I want to have, or if you want to substitute power with control, or I want to improve on my ability to effectively communicate. So you can make it your own, but in essence, that is what the concept of the empowerment approach means. So power 2, continuing the notion. So power 2 therefore refers to intellectual abilities, knowledge and know-how. So you are in business, you are a business leader, you know how. So for example, if you are a hairdresser, you obviously know how to do hair. That's why you went in business, to do hair. So power 2, you have the ability to do hair. You have control over your clients. You are able to provide the service that they require, and you have the ability to delegate if you have people working for you and things like that. So power 2 it refers to your abilities, what you know, your skill set, and what you were trained if you went to school for whatever it is you are in business for, as well as economic. So for example, the ability to access and control means of production. So power 2, you have the power to control your inventory. You have the ability to know what you have in your inventory and to take control over it, to delegate, to inform, to disseminate information, to acquire. So all these things are part of power 2. So the next one, power with, involves social or political power, which highlights the notion of common purpose or understanding, as well as the ability to get together to negotiate and defend a common goal. It can be individual again, it can be collective. So when we spoke about process to acquire, the empowerment approach is a process to acquire power, which can either be collective or individual. Power with, so for example, I want to use examples so you get an understanding of the different aspects of the empowerment approach. So for example, power with, it can be, I have the ability to, or I have control with, or control, I have the ability to let's go back on communicate. So I have the ability to communicate effectively with my team. I can sit down, have a team meeting, or I want to have control with what I say or how I come across as a business leader, or I want to have control over my business processes, my business strategy, the way in which I do things, the way in which I operate. So your power with can be social, it can be political, depending on what aspect we're referring to. it is collective. So people feel they have the power when they can get together and unite in search of a common objective, or when they share same visions. So you are in business, you have a team, you come together in a team, you feel that you have control over that, or you are empowered by that because you have the power to come together, as opposed to thinking in the, like, just by, like, on your own, and you just coming up with an idea, nobody to bounce the idea off of, or to get insight or to get advice. But when you work with a team, with that particular aspect of the empowerment approach, when we're talking about the approach to power with is collective, so more than one person. So that, just think of it as power with, you have control over or not control, but you have the power to delegate again, or to communicate effectively with your team, or with others, or with people around you, people involved in your business, prospective clients, current customers, things like that. So that is what power with really targets. Power within refers to self-awareness. So it's easy to remember these four aspects. Power within speaks on you. So the notion of this power refers to self-awareness, self-esteem, identity, assertiveness, knowing how to be independent, how to carry yourself, how to come across, how to communicate, how to be an effective leader. It also refers to how individuals, through self-analysis and internal power, can influence their lives and make changes. So I want to have control over my mindset. I want to have power over the things that I say and how I come across. So this particular aspect of power, your identity and your personal traits, whatever personal traits that you already have and you are proud of, or personal traits that you want to improve on. The empowerment approach focuses on, or operates on, two levels: capacity for personal change and political and social change. Personal change is self-explanatory, just means wanting to be your best self. So the empowerment approach focuses on the capacity to improve oneself as a business leader or as an individual on a whole. And political and social change, depending on the situation, wanting to improve yourself based on how you're viewed in society, especially as a woman, or as a woman in business, or a woman in leadership, and also political, depending on what capacity that you're in. There are four aspects of empowerment. We're going to look at the first one being assets. This concept refers to greater economic power in terms of material assets such as income, land, tools, or technology. This being said, such economic power is not restricted to the possession of resources and wealth, but also includes better health, more time, access to certain services such as loans, information and training, health centers, and markets. So this aspect of empowerment is very important, because it not only refers to the approach to power as a greater economic as of greater economic value, but it also refers to material stuff, such as things that you own in your business, land, things that you use to produce based on what you're offering. And this economic power, it's not restricted to just personal stuff or personal possession or resources. It can also extend to information, training, loans, health centers, markets. So it's broad. This aspect of empowerment, of the empowerment approach, is very broad. The next one is knowledge and know-how. That falls under power 2. Assets also fall under power 2. Knowledge and know-how means having more practical and intellectual knowledge or skills, enabling a person or community to make the most of the opportunities that arise. It refers to management of people, which is your leadership skills, techniques or procedures, training, which is literacy, as well as the development of thought and reason as critical analysis skills. Know-how highlights the importance of applying knowledge or the ability to translate one's knowledge into action or resources. Remember earlier we spoke about knowledge and not being stingy with your knowledge, and the ability to give back when it comes to what you know, and especially if you were trained in a certain field and you have that mindset and that ability and that desire to want to give back whatever information that you can. That falls under knowledge and know-how, which also falls under your power to effectively communicate your business strategies, the power to be able to effectively give out information that is not only valuable but is also important and relevant. So knowledge and know-how is another aspect of empowerment and another aspect of the empowerment approach. The third one is will, the power within, which is your internal power, refers to power within, as I said, psychological strength or spiritual power, one's values and fears, self-confidence and self-perception. It is the ability and will to make one's own choices for the future, the awareness of one's own life plans, as well as the challenges facing one's community. The concept of will also includes the two elements of state of mind, being and knowing how to be. So being and the ability to use it towards others, which is knowing how to be. So your will is really your power within, what identifies you, what makes you you. So it refers to your psychological strength, it can refer to your spiritual power. It also includes your state of mind, your mindset, how you approach people, everything to do your deportment, your state of being, and also the knowledge and the know-how of how to be. So that is really what the aspect of will is. And the fourth aspect of empowerment is capacity, which is also your power within, your internal power, a combination of your internal power and your power with. So power within and power with makes up your capacity. It means having the opportunity to make decisions, take on responsibility, be free to act as one pleases, and use one's resources, your assets, your knowledge, your will. Decision making encompasses several aspects. The ability to make one's own decisions, the ability to take part in the decision making, the ability to influence decision making and control those who make decisions on one's behalf. And also it encompasses the ability to make decisions for others and to show authority in situations where someone has to make the final decision. So basically the aspect of capacity involves your power with and your power within yourself. The ability to make your own decisions, the ability to communicate those decisions, and also to be part and parcel of the decision making process, and also part and parcel of the solution and the end goal and the whole process. So you always have to remember that you have to empower yourself first, and the empowerment approach is a good way to self-develop, I should say. To build yourself. You can use these four aspects of the approach to power to help you within your business life, and as a business leader, and generally as an individual trying to gain success for yourself. Now we're going to look a little bit at the circles of empowerment. So the diagram, as you can see, shows the four aspects of empowerment, which is will, knowledge, assets, and power. So if you look carefully at the diagram, you can see that power makes up the grander circle of the circles of empowerment, and you have will making up is a smaller circle and is in the center of everything. So the different elements of power and the very dynamics of the empowerment process will visualize using these circles of empowerment. This diagram highlights the link between the changes in individuals and groups of association, which is inside the circle. So look carefully inside the circle. It differentiates the power and the dynamics of the empowerment process. It highlights the link between changes in individuals and groups of association, and the changes in such institutions as the family, the state, religious establishments, educational establishments, media, NGOs, etc. It is in fact the process of societal change. Institutions have an influence over the development of individuals and the organization's knowledge, assets, will, and capacity. This relationship can be seen from the arrows pointing inwards. So for example, you see you have will in the center and you have an arrow pointing from media to will. So that is the influence that, so for example, the media has on your willpower. But you have an arrow, for example, pointing from power to media. So you have the power to control whatever media platform you listen to or you look at. So that's basically what it means. Let me just repeat it. So for example, look at the circle that is marked will. If you notice, the arrow is coming from media to will. So that means that the media has an influence or some type of influence on your willpower. So for example, you might be looking for a particular station, not a particular station, but you might just be going through different stations. We are taking radio stations as an example for media, and you're scrolling for a radio station and something juicy or some beef is going on one of the stations. The media has that control or that power over your will because you are inclined to listen to something because it's a story, it's interesting to you. Whereas if you look at the arrow pointing from power, the largest circle there, which is power, from power to media, this simply means that you have the power to decide what radio station you're going to listen to. So think of the inside circles as you, your will, your knowledge, your power, and your assets, and think of the outside circles as everything that is influenced by, or that influences you, or that is influenced by your elements of your empowerment approach. And the arrows, the direction of the arrows would mean who influences what, or what influences whatever aspect or element of your empowerment approach. So institutions have an influence over the development of individuals and their organizations' knowledge, assets, will, and capacity. This relationship can be seen from the arrows pointing inwards. So for example, the family, so we did the media example, let's do an example of the family. So the families considerably influence the development of an individual's self-confidence and self-perception. So if you notice, families, you have an arrow from families to will, and then you have an arrow from will to family, so it can go either way. Your family can influence you and you influence your family. And there is an arrow from assets to families. So whatever that you own it can be influenced by your family. It can influence your family, sorry. So let's say you own a nice car. It's an asset, something that you own. An asset is something that you own. So you own a nice car. A member of your family may be jealous. They are influenced by that asset. Whereas the arrows pointing in the opposite direction means the opposite. So the arrow pointing downwards from family to will means that your family is influencing your willpower to do whatever, to make whatever decision. NGOs So we're looking at the circle with NGOs, influence the development of individuals and their organizations' knowledge. The state influences people's ability to form organizations and strengthen their social power. Moreover, individuals and their organizations can influence institutions within society and thus contribute to change. This relationship can be seen from the arrows pointing outwards. So if you look at NGO, the arrow pointing from NGO to will means that they have the power to influence our will. The arrow pointing from power to NGOs means we have the power to influence NGOs, which would constitute to social change or development in the economy. There is an arrow pointing from NGO to knowledge. The NGOs influence our knowledge. Sometimes NGOs disseminate information, they have trainings and whatever. This adds to our knowledge. As well as an arrow from NGO to power, the NGO also has the power to influence our power based on whatever aspect it is that is being spoken of. So these circles of empowerment is really straightforward, and it's just there to guide you and to show you the relationship between the elements of power or the elements of the empowerment approach and whatever else that is around, whether it's families, and you can add on to these circles. There may be other things that are influenced by your elements of your empowerment, and vice versa. Okay, now we're going to look at women and development. I can always do a separate video on the circles of empowerment and go in depth and more descriptive, but because of time I am just going through the slides and giving as much information as possible. So now we're going to look at women and development. So I included an excerpt from the World Development Report of 2012, which says that things have changed for the better, but not for all women and not in all domains of gender equality. Progress has been slow and limited for some women in very poor countries, for those who are poor even amid greater wealth, and for those who face other forms of exclusion because of their caste. Caste means their social class, disability, location, ethnicity, or sexual orientation. Whether comparisons between men and women in the same country or absolute comparisons of women across countries, the progress in some domains is tempered by the sobering realities that many women face in others. So I found that excerpt was very interesting, and I included it in our video course just to shed light on the reality of women all across the world. Some have it better than others, and some situations have not improved. Progress is slow, limited resources, economic challenges, social disturbances, and all these aspects that affect women today. So I found that this was very interesting. You can also look up the World Development Report of 2012 and have a more in-depth look at the document. We're going to look at the elements of equality when we speak about women and development. So gender equality is considered a critical element in achieving decent work for all women and men in order to effect social and institutional change that leads to sustainable development with equity and growth. Gender equality refers to equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities that all persons should enjoy, regardless of whether one is born male or female. So in the context of the world of work, equality between women and men includes the following elements. So we have equality of opportunity and treatment in employment, equal pay for equal work value, equal access, equality in obtaining career development, equal participation, equality in association, a balance between work and home. Given that women are usually in a disadvantaged position in the workplace compared to men, promotion of gender equality implies explicit attention to women's needs and perspectives, At the same time, there are also significant negative effects of unequal power relations and expectations on men and boys due to stereotyping about what it means to be a male. Instead, both women and men and boys and girls should be free to develop their abilities and make choices without limitations set by rigid gender roles and prejudices based on personal interests and capacities. So these elements of equality just shed some light and gives us an overview of the different aspects of women and development, and men inclusive, young people inclusive. We're going to look at some concepts central to gender and development. So these include, but they are not limited to, because there are a lot of concepts that we can come up with, but these are just some of the concepts that we're going to look at. Culture, gender analysis, gender discrimination, gender division of labor, gender training, social justice, women's empowerment, and women's human rights. So I'm just going to explain quickly for each one listed here, and there are many others. There are sex and gender, patriarchy, national machineries for women, intra-household resources distribution, gender planning, gender relations. There are a lot of concepts that are speaking on gender and development, but we're just going to look at a few. And we're going to start with culture, which is the distinctive patterns of ideas, beliefs, and norms which characterize the way of life and relations of a society or group within a society. So a culture is really what defines us and what drives us as an economy. So that is really what culture in the concept of women and development, or gender and development, speaks on. So this is mainly what culture involves, our way of life, and this is what defines us as a people. We're going to look at gender analysis, which basically is the systematic gathering and examination of information on gender differences and social relations in order to identify, understand, and redress inequities based on gender. So basically, gender analysis involves research and dissecting what not many different aspects, nothing specific, but different aspects when it comes to gender and gender development in general. Gender discrimination is also the systematic unfavorable treatment of individuals on the basis of their gender, which denies them rights, opportunities, or resources. So we know what it means to be discriminative, or to discriminate against someone because of whatever it is, their sexuality, their race, their status, their job. You know, we do that. Some of us do that a lot. Maybe not me and you, but it happens, I want to say. And that is what discrimination in itself means, but gender discrimination specifically is targeted when it comes to denying of rights and denying of opportunities of development and so forth, advancement and so forth. Gender division of labor is a socially determined idea and practices which define what roles and activities are deemed appropriate for women and men. Gender training is a facilitated process of developing awareness and capacity on gender issues to bring about personal or organizational change for gender inequality. Social justice is fairness and equity as a right for all in the outcomes of development through processes of social transformation. Women's empowerment, a bottom-up process of transforming gender power relations through individuals or groups developing awareness of women's subordination and building their capacity to challenge it. And women's human rights, the recognition that women's rights are human rights and that women experience injustices solely because of their gender. And I don't think it may not solely be it may not solely be based on their gender, but it is primarily and highly I should say not highly obvious, but it would be at the top of the list of reasons why women are denied certain rights that they should have, or they should be able to have. Control again. The empowerment approach is very important, ladies. Okay, now we're going to look at the topic of creating potential leaders. And we're going to look at the topic also of women mentoring women and the benefits of women mentoring women can bring about. So the first thing is change of perception. Mentoring another woman can really do a number on your perception of certain things, and what I mean by that is it can create a platform where you can learn from what you, so it's like you are empowered through your empowerment, so to speak. So it changes your perception of a lot of things, especially based on who you are empowering and the situation that arose from them needing your empowerment or your advice, your motivation, your inspiration. Realization of career ambitions. Being empowered, being motivated, whatever terminology that you want to use, it brings about a clear understanding of what it is that you want to accomplish in life and what it is that your mind is set out to, what your mind is telling you that you are set out to be or become or to achieve, especially as a woman in business or as a business leader. So realization of your career ambitions and what you are capable of and your abilities. You may know you have those abilities, but you are not aware of it. It's kind of like, I know it, so I'm aware of it, but it means you know it, but you are not manifesting it, or you're not believing it. I'm not sure if any of you saw today's Empower Day, which is visualizing your goals. So it's one thing to know that you have this ability or you want to achieve this goal, but it's another thing to think that you already have it, so to speak. So realization of career ambition falls under that category of manifestation and visualization. Accountable for achieving your goals. It helps you build networks. It helps you boost your confidence, and confidence is one of the traits of an entrepreneur as well as an effective leader. It opens doors to leadership. It creates opportunity, and it paves the way for entrepreneurship. That is very obvious. So now we're going to look at emotional intelligence we spoke of earlier, and just to give you some insight on emotional intelligence in leadership. When you think of a perfect leader, when you think of the perfect leader, what comes to mind? You can just write it down if you're taking notes. When you think of the perfect leader, remember earlier we differentiated leadership or leader versus manager. But when you think of an effective leader, the perfect leader, what comes to mind? So you can just write it down in your notes and just ponder on what you've written. And as you go through this course, you can always look back and see if you were on the right track when asked this question. When you think of a perfect leader, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? You might picture someone who never lets his temper get out of control, no matter what problems he's facing. Or you might think of someone who has the complete trust of her staff, listens to her team, she's easy to talk to, and always makes careful, informed decisions. These are qualities of someone with high emotional intelligence. And this is what we're going to look at now. emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence, or EI, is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions. So the ability and the understanding, mindset again, ladies. Mindset always, so this is another term that always comes up when we speak of leadership, entrepreneurship, empowerment, motivation. Your mindset is always key and it always plays an important role when going through this process. So EI is the ability to understand, the ability to manage your own emotions and those of people around you. So not just your own emotions, but your emotions and my emotions. Be able to understand, I understand my emotions, I understand yours. Being able to manage both mine and both yours. That is emotional intelligence. People with a high degree of emotional intelligence know what they're feeling, what their emotions mean, and how these emotions can affect other people. Now, in terms of leadership, having emotional intelligence is essential for success. After all, who is more likely to succeed? A leader who shouts at his team when he's under stress, or a leader who stays in control and calmly assesses the situation? Which one you think would most succeed, ladies? According to Daniel Goleman, an American psychologist who helped to popularize emotional intelligence, there are 5 key elements. As you can see here, the first one is self-awareness, second, self-regulation, third, motivation, fourth, empathy, and 5, social skills. So the more that you as a leader manage each of these areas, the higher your emotional intelligence. So we're going to look at each element in more detail and examine how you and me and all of us can grow as women in leadership. So the first one is self-awareness. This is the ability to recognize and understand your moods, your emotions and drives, as well as their effect on others. If you're self-aware, you always know how you feel, and you know how your emotions and your actions can affect the people around you. Being self-aware when you're in a leadership position also means having a clear picture of your strengths and weaknesses, and it means behaving with humility. So remember in volume 1 when we spoke of the SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, your threats, as it pertains to your business, you can apply this SWOT analysis as it pertains to your emotional intelligence. Why? Because it gives you the distinctive ability to list all your strengths as an individual, not as your strengths of your business, but your strengths of you as an individual, your weaknesses, your opportunities. And to do that, you would have to think of opportunities that are out there that are afforded to you, or that you are able, or you are in the capacity to go after. And your threats is what is out there. So it's basically the same concept as doing a SWOT analysis for your business. You can apply that same concept when you're measuring your emotional intelligence. So what are the things that you can do to improve your self-awareness, to be self-aware, to know who you are, to know what you're capable of, to visualize your goals, to manifest your dreams? What are the things you can do? The easiest of them is to keep a journal. Write down your goals. You can do it daily. There are many ways and effective ways which create a different outcome for different people based on the situation that you are in. So there are different ways that you can document, but keeping a journal is one of them, as well as taking it slow. Remember, in volume 1, I said simplicity is a medicine to entrepreneurship. I think simplicity is a medicine to leadership, to empowerment, to measuring your emotional intelligence. Keep it simple, take it slow. When you experience anger or other strong emotions, slow down to examine why. Remember, no matter what the situation, you can always choose how you react to it. Now we're going to look at self-regulation. So self-regulation is the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods, the prosperity, the propensity to suspend judgment, to think before acting. So leaders who regulate themselves effectively rarely verbally attack others, make rushed or emotional decisions, stereotype people, or compromise their values. Self-regulation is all about staying in control. So when you self-regulate, you know your values. You know what you are about, what you are capable of, what you are worth. You hold yourself accountable to your actions. For your actions, you hold other people accountable for theirs as well. And you practice a sense of composure and a sense of calmness, a state of calmness. Motivation, a passion to work for reasons that go beyond money or status, a propensity to pursue goals with energy and persistence. So what we're doing right now, we're motivating you to be your best selves and to, go after your leadership qualities and to improve on your already existing leadership qualities, which I'm sure a lot of you have. So this is motivation. Know where you stand and be hopeful and find something good in everything that you come across and in things that you want to accomplish. Every time you face a challenge or even a failure, try to find at least one good thing about the situation. It might be something small like a new contact or something with long-term effects like an important lesson learned. But there's almost always something positive if you just look for it and look closely for it in any situation, good or bad. The fourth element of emotional intelligence is empathy. This is the ability to understand the emotional makeup of other people, skill in treating people according to their emotional reaction. Put yourself in someone else's position. Think about how that person will feel if you communicate to them in a certain manner, if you deal with them in a certain manner, especially your customers or potential customers that you want to come on board with your business. Pay attention to your body language, the way you are deported, your deportment, the way you approach people, how personable you are. Respond to feelings. That all means being empathetic, your soft skills, your emotional intelligence. The fifth element is social skills. Proficiency in managing relationships and building networks, an ability to find common ground and build rapport. Leaders who do well in the social skills element of emotional intelligence are great communicators. Remember, we spoke about being effective communicators. You don't only want to communicate, but you want to do it in a manner which will bring across your desired outcome. Leaders who have good social skills are also good at managing change and resolving conflicts diplomatically. They're rarely satisfied with leaving things as they are, but they don't sit back and make everyone else do the work. They set an example with their own behavior. Remember earlier I urged you to set an example and lead by that example. That is also an element that is part of the social skills of the emotional intelligence structure. Confidence and networking. Now, I'm certain that you could be the most outgoing and extroverted person on the face of the planet, and you may still consider networking an oftentimes awkward and uncomfortable social situation. I think that this may stem from the fact that networking is somewhat of a strange and forced situation to begin with. You take a large group of people, all with different goals, expectations, and even occupations, and put them in a room with some business cards and anticipate that they can talk about everything from the current job market to the weather. Easier said than done, right? But don't stress yourself. We're going to look at some ways that you can build your confidence and also build your networking skills. Some of us are not too fond of networking. I am one of them, but I try my best to still dive in and just take a leap of faith, but at the same time learn from others around you who are doing the same networking as you, and try to do my research and just develop my skills through training and through empowerment sessions, and just speaking with people who are more comfortable with networking. So we're going to look at building our network. So some of the ways you can build your network is by determining your goals beforehand, preparing yourself, bringing a support system or a support body, rehearse and perfect your elevator pitch, never assume, state facts and the obvious, research, be aware of body language, and avoid extra accessories. What I mean by extra accessories is sometimes you may be speaking to someone, telling them about your business, and you might feel the need to have something to hold on to, like a glass of wine or some water. It can cause a distraction, which is unnecessary. So you always want to be focused on what you're doing and to just get in and get out, like I like to say it. Building your confidence, you need to look the part, network with others, develop self-awareness. So networking with others also builds your confidence. Helping others, celebrating others' success, learn and practice positivity, ask for help, make a decision, develop a solution, and always be open-minded when you are networking. That can also build your confidence because you are not putting your expectations too high, neither are you forcing yourself on anybody that you're networking with. Now we're going to look at self-development, your identity, definition, and the evolution of self-development. So what is identity? What does identity mean to you? Identity can mean a lot of things, or they can fall into different categories: spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, and they can also fall in a social bracket. So knowing your identity, being aware of your surroundings, and being aware of whatever situation that you are in, being aware of your business processes, of your marketing strategy, of your leadership skills, of your business development processes. All these things fall under the aspect of personal growth, and knowing your identity and what you're capable of and what you bring to the table as a woman in leadership and as a business leader. So what is leadership identity? Leadership identity encompasses your presence in your work. It drives your decisions, and it reflects your values, your mindset, your actions, and your responses. There are some key aspects or building blocks to create and develop your leadership identity. This includes your brand, the behavior that you have as a business leader, the responses, your communication, the way in which you communicate, your presence, how personable you are, how approachable you are, and the habits that you encompass in your business endeavors. We're going to look at identity when it comes to, when it speaks on your leadership brand. Branding and marketing yourself is a fancy phrase for how you choose to project what is unique, genuine, and quality about you. I intentionally use the word choose because it is your choice to actively design and build awareness for your personal brand, or passively allow others to do it for you. Your brand and how you cultivate awareness of it can determine what leadership opportunities you have in the future. Consistency is key. I always stress, I cannot stress enough, and I will repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. In whatever you endeavor to achieve and to accomplish in your business and as a business leader, you must encompass consistency with all the other terminologies that we spoke about in the past two courses. In leadership, entrepreneurship, and empowerment, we spoke of being confident, being independent, being approachable, personable, your soft skills, and all these other terminologies that always come up. Consistency is another one of those, and I think it's very important. You it's effective, and it's important to market yourself and market your brand. You are your brand, so you're marketing yourself in the process, but it's also more effective to be consistent. Now, it's a choice. That's why I use the word choose. You can choose to do it. It's not mandatory, or you can have someone do it for you. But in any event, it is something that should be taken into consideration when you're developing your leadership skills, and as a woman in business and in your endeavors to be an effective leader. Being consistent is one of the key traits and the key aspects that goes along with achieving those goals and achieving those leadership qualities and achieving business development goals for yourself and for your business and so on. Now, I broke up consistency into consistent quality, first of all, and consistent awareness. Now, consistent quality drives you to create the best product or the best service, or combination of both possible. The product is really you. Remember, you are your brand. Your brand is your product, so you are your brand. So consistent quality drives you to create the best version of yourself. This includes your values, your mindset, your attitude, talents and skills, your unique expertise, your strengths, and your overall presence, including dress, presence, posture. Consistent quality involves all these aspects. Now we're going to look at consistent awareness. Consistent awareness is where the big leap frequently comes into play. And we all can relate, I'm sure. It's awkward for most of us to actively keep ourselves top of mind in our industries, in our businesses. As a leader, you must learn to create consistent awareness in the market and get comfortable with it. I've learned that actions often come first in order to help cultivate the mindset. So these are some concrete ways you can take action. When creating your own list, it's important to keep in mind that things you are naturally good at and enjoy. That will help you consistently deliver on creating awareness for your leadership brand. So you can join a group or an organization or a non-profit. You can create content for people, content for yourself. You can write articles to be published in the newspaper. You can ask customers for feedback, especially if you're putting on a training or a program or something. It's always good to get feedback from the participants. Track your major accomplishments, improve your networking, and create content in your area of expertise. So the definition of self-development is basically taking steps to better yourself, such as learning a new skill or overcoming a bad habit. So the diagram shows the different parts of the brain and the different levels that you use to attain self-development. You put a few goals into play, make some priorities, you create deadlines, you understand your strengths, threats and opportunities, as we spoke about SWOT earlier, and you get your feet moving, you get into action. You don't just think of these things and just remain stagnant. You move with it and you put it into play. You get your feet moving. We're going to look at the cycle of development. The cycle of development has you in the middle, as you can see in our diagram, and around you we have discovery, so self-discovery, self-development, self-mastery, and self-actualization. So we're going to look at each one of them and what they entail. So self-discovery, as you can see here, involves discovering your passion, figuring out your purpose, finding out what motivates you, discovering what you are capable of, and learning what your needs are. So discovering yourself, discovering what excites you, what motivates you, discovering who you are really, an in-depth version of yourself. Self-development is, to obtain self-development, you have to start now. Take your time, simplicity, embrace change around you, learn from others, be accountable, and also hold people accountable for their action towards you, learn from others, be grateful, stay humble, follow your passion, stay true to yourself, and never give up, never lose faith. So that is self-development. All these aspects will help you develop your best self and will also help you as a business leader. Self-mastery: be aware, choose wisely, have courage to act, and manifest or realize your true potential. And self-actualization, as you can see here in the diagram of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization is at the top of the pyramid. Achieving your full potential, including creative activities, moments of pure joy and happiness, self-acceptance, realistic things, being independent, being private, being thoughtful in the process of your self-development. So these are the elements of the cycle of self-development. Evolution of self-development. Some questions that you may ask yourself when we may ask ourselves when we think of evolving in ourselves and self-development. Every person is a unique individual, and because of this, a universal strategy for personal growth and development cannot exist. Each pathway towards personal growth and development is a personalized journey. It is up to the individual to figure out which path is theirs and where it leads. There is, however, a set of questions that can help us guide, or that can help guide you towards your own path. What is your current state? Evaluate your strengths and weaknesses as well as good and bad habits. What is your desired state? Examine what it is you hope to improve about yourself and why it is important for you to improve those characteristics. How do I get there? What do I need? Determine what knowledge and experiences need to happen in order for you to get closer to your desired self. Find resources that are useful towards achieving this desired goal. What is your timeline? Make a list of activities and events that you hope to experience within a set amount of time. Use them as checkpoints that lead towards your goal. How do we accept who we are and evolve? First step is removing the barriers to evolution. We do this by first discovering the core values that define who we truly are through deep self-reflection and shedding the expectations society has placed on us. In other words, we learn about ourselves. We become self-aware in a true sense. So as Michelle Obama rightly put it, success isn't about how much money you make, it's about the difference you make in people's lives. And as aspiring leaders in our different endeavors and leaders in general, we always want to aspire to be the best version of ourselves and to also help others along their journey in their own self-development and in the process of being leaders in their own capacity. You made it to the end, ladies. Once again, thank you so much for following this video course. I hope it was very insightful and empowering and captivating and informative, and I hope to see you all in volume 3, where we will be looking at financial management in small business. The link to the quiz will be emailed to each of our registered participants tomorrow. And thank you so much, everyone, and